In a galaxy filled with countless star systems, each one more fragmented than the last, distrust flows like a dark current among its inhabitants. Countless empires vie for power, each one claiming dominance over whatever territories they can seize. It is a universe where every species must fend for itself, often at the expense of others. Within this chaotic expanse lies the Orai, a small and fragile species, their very existence teetering on the edge. For centuries, they have been known for their unparalleled knowledge and their technology, which is said to be advanced beyond measure. Yet, in a galaxy driven by might, their lack of physical defenses has left them prey to more ruthless forces. The Orai have endured oppression for generations, their planets raided, their people enslaved, their resources exploited by the more aggressive races who see them only as tools or assets to be used. Every attempt they've made to rise up or resist has been met with harsh punishment. Their cries for help have been ignored, their pleas for peace met with silence or derision. They are, as many in the galaxy say, destined to be victims. And so, they remain hidden in the shadows, trying to survive. That is, until humanity arrives on the scene. A relatively new player in galactic affairs, humans are a species still finding their footing among the stars. But what they lack in time-tested experience, they make up for with resilience, determination, and an innate sense of justice that surprises many. When a human exploration fleet stumbles upon a quiet, desolate Orai settlement, one that has clearly been ravaged by repeated attacks, they are struck not by the advanced technology surrounding them but by the desperation in the eyes of the few remaining inhabitants. Humans are no strangers to hardship. Their own history is filled with tales of oppression, rebellion, and survival against seemingly insurmountable odds. They recognize the look in the Orai's eyes, the look of a people who have been beaten down yet refuse to surrender their spirit. As they delve deeper, humanity learns of the Orai's plight. They see the evidence of systemic exploitation, the scars of battles fought not with honor but with cold cruelty. They learn of the Orai's wisdom, their unmatched capacity for innovation and knowledge, and they begin to understand that this species, though physically weak, holds within them something far more valuable than brute strength. Appalled by what they've discovered, human leaders convene. They debate, they discuss, they weigh the risks. Many argue that intervening in the affairs of another species is not their concern, but others push back. They speak of duty, of the responsibility that comes with strength. Finally, a decision is made, spearheaded by a leader who possesses both charisma and conviction, a voice that resonates with the moral fiber of an entire species. A message is sent, transmitted across the stars, reaching the corners of the galaxy. The words are clear, firm, and unmistakable. Don't lay a finger on our alien allies. Humanity, it declares, will protect the Orai at all costs. The message is not just a promise, it is a command that sends shockwaves through the galactic community. The reactions come quickly, and they are varied. Some laugh, dismissing the message as the empty bravado of an upstart species. Others watch with intrigue, wondering what the humans have up their sleeves. But the Xandarian Empire, a brutal and war-hardened faction known for their conquests and merciless tactics, sees this as a direct challenge. They have exploited the Orai for years, using their technology and resources to fuel their own ambitions. To them, humanity's bold declaration is an affront, a dare that cannot go unanswered. In the halls of Xandarian Command, there is no hesitation. They are eager to test the resolve of this new player, eager to see if humanity has the stomach for a fight. And so, they begin to make their move, unaware that this moment marks the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history, one where a single command might just change everything. Captain Elias Carter had always been known for his audacity. Even among the ranks of Earth's finest, his name was spoken with both admiration and a hint of caution. Tall, with sharp eyes that seemed to miss nothing, Carter had earned his reputation through a series of daring maneuvers and conflicts that should have seen him outmatched. He was not one to follow the predictable path. His tactics were as fluid as water, shifting in ways that confounded his enemies and often his own allies. When humanity declared its intent to protect the Orai, it was Carter who was chosen to lead the Earth Defense Fleet. He understood the significance of this mission, This was not merely a military engagement, but a test of humanity's resolve, a declaration that they would stand by their word, no matter the cost. The Xandarians wasted no time. They viewed humanity's command as nothing more than a bluff to be called. Without warning, they launched a vicious assault on an Orai colony situated on the edge of known space, a colony they had attacked many times before. Their fleet descended like a swarm of locusts, their ships dark and menacing against the cold expanse of space. Weapons fire lit up the blackness, tearing through the colony's defenses in mere moments. The Xandarians had expected little resistance, believing that humanity would hesitate, that their newfound allies would crumble under the first sign of pressure. Chaos erupted across the Orai settlement. The colony's flimsy defensive perimeter shattered almost instantly, sending waves of panic through its inhabitants. The Xandarians moved with brutal efficiency, confident in their superiority. Their ships cut through the settlement's outer defenses with ease, their soldiers already preparing to deploy and finish the job on the ground. To them, this was just another routine raid, a lesson to the galaxy not to take humanity's words seriously. But they had not accounted for Captain Elias Carter. The moment the attack began, Carter was already in motion. He had anticipated the Xandarians' arrogance and planned for it. He gave the order, and the Earth defense fleet surged forward, faster and more coordinated than the Xandarians could have imagined. As they closed in on the Orai colony, Carter's fleet maintained radio silence, keeping their intentions concealed until the very last second. Then, with precision and intensity, they struck. Carter's fleet did not charge headlong into the enemy. Instead, they split into multiple formations, each one executing a different strategy. Some flanked the Xandarian ships, coming at them from unexpected angles, while others created a screen that protected the Orai colony from further bombardment. The Xandarians, expecting a direct confrontation, were caught off guard. Their lines faltered as Carter's ships danced through space, evading return fire and striking with pinpoint accuracy. Carter knew the Xandarians were used to overwhelming their foes with sheer force, so he chose to fight in a way they did not understand, by being everywhere at once and nowhere at all. His ships moved like shadows, appearing briefly to deliver a blow before disappearing behind debris, or using the Xandarian ships themselves as cover. Within moments, confusion spread through the Xandarian ranks. Orders were shouted, countermanded, and chaos took root. The Xandarian commander, accustomed to swift victories, found himself facing an enemy he could neither see clearly nor predict. As the battle raged, Carter employed a tactic that would soon become legend. Using false signals, he created the illusion of a larger force hidden behind the visible fleet. The Xandarians hesitated, believing they were on the verge of being surrounded. Panic set in as they began to pull back, their commanders unsure of where the real threat lay. Meanwhile, Carter's forces pressed their advantage, exploiting every gap, every moment of hesitation. One by one, the Xandarian ships began to retreat. What had started as a confident assault now turned into a hasty withdrawal. Carter's fleet, still largely intact, pursued just enough to drive the point home. They didn't need to destroy the enemy, they just needed to make them understand that humanity would not be pushed aside. The Xandarians, beaten and humiliated, finally retreated into the darkness from which they had come. The Orai, who had been bracing themselves for yet another cycle of devastation, stood in stunned silence as the Xandarian ships vanished from their skies. For a moment, disbelief hung in the air. Had humanity truly come to their defense? Had the words spoken in distant corners of the galaxy carried weight after all? As the dust settled, a message from Captain Elias Carter was broadcast across the Orai communication network, reassuring them that they were now under humanity's protection. Relief and gratitude flooded the colony. The Orai leaders, long accustomed to betrayal and neglect, could hardly believe it. This was no mere gesture, this was a promise kept. They reached out to Carter, their voices tinged with awe and a new sense of hope. They explained that, while they lacked the military might to defend themselves, they possessed knowledge that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Ancient secrets, technologies lost to time, and insights into the fabric of the universe itself. They had not shared these secrets before, for fear of them being used against them, but now they saw an opportunity, a chance to forge a true alliance, built on trust and mutual respect. Humanity had not only defended them but had done so with a boldness and ingenuity that left no doubt about their intentions. And so, with a cautious optimism, the Orai began to open their vaults of knowledge, revealing to Captain Carter and his people the first glimpses of what lay within. They knew that, with humanity standing beside them, they might finally have a chance not just to survive but to thrive in a galaxy that had long sought to crush them. The atmosphere aboard the Earth Defense Fleet shifted in the days following the battle. What had been a loose understanding between two species began to solidify into something more substantial. Captain Elias Carter, seeing the potential in this newfound alliance, took the opportunity to deepen the connection with the Orai. He spent hours in dialogue with their leaders, learning not just about their history of suffering but about their vast repositories of knowledge that had been hidden away out of fear of exploitation. The Orai, cautious at first, started to open up. They were still tentative, still wary of betrayal, but humanity's swift defense against the Xandarians had proven that the promise of protection was more than mere words. They shared glimpses of their ancient technology, hints of advancements in fields humanity had barely begun to explore: quantum navigation, biological engineering, and strange, almost mystical sciences that defied conventional understanding. Carter listened carefully, recognizing the potential within these secrets. He knew that these revelations were only the beginning, that the Orai were still holding back their most valuable knowledge, waiting to see if trust could be earned over time. Meanwhile, the Xandarian Empire, humiliated by their retreat, seethed in anger. They could not allow their defeat at the hands of a younger species to go unchallenged. In secret, they convened with their most trusted allies, reaching out to other factions who viewed the Orai with suspicion or saw them as an obstacle to their ambitions. Plans were laid, resources were gathered, and alliances were forged. A coalition began to form, one that would launch a larger, more coordinated assault. The Xandarians were determined to crush both the Orai and their human defenders, to show the galaxy that defiance would not be tolerated. Carter, always one step ahead, knew the Xandarians would not be so easily deterred. He anticipated that they would seek to save face and assert dominance, likely returning with even greater force. The humans had won a battle, but a war was looming, and this time the stakes would be far higher. Carter called together his top strategists, scientists, and military minds. He needed to prepare for a conflict that would test every resource and every ounce of cunning humanity possessed. The planning sessions were intense. Carter and his team devised new strategies, considering every possible angle the Xandarians might take. They developed countermeasures for likely enemy tactics and prepared traps designed to exploit the overconfidence that often marked the Xandarian approach. They also began upgrading their ships with the knowledge shared by the Orai, incorporating elements of their ancient technology into human designs. The Orai's insights proved invaluable, offering new ways to enhance their fleet's capabilities and adding layers of unpredictability that Carter knew would be crucial. At the same time, Carter remained vigilant in his diplomatic efforts. Messages were sent to other factions, some of whom had been on the sidelines, unsure whether to support or oppose humanity's stance. He offered alliances, negotiated terms, and even made promises that would strengthen humanity's position without compromising their integrity. He knew that some factions would never support them outright but hoped that they might at least remain neutral, unwilling to join the Xandarian cause. He was playing a complex game, one that required as much finesse and subtlety as the battle strategies themselves. The tension across the galaxy began to rise. Rumors spread of the Xandarians' preparations, of fleets amassing in secret, of new weapon systems being developed. The air was thick with uncertainty. Some factions began to see humanity in a new light, not as naive newcomers but as a force that might change the balance of power in the galaxy. Others grew wary, concerned that the humans were becoming too bold, too unpredictable. Carter felt the weight of these dynamics pressing on him from all sides. He had to keep his fleet ready, his people focused, and his allies confident, all while knowing that any misstep could lead to disaster. Every decision he made carried the risk of escalating the conflict further, but he knew that hesitation could be just as dangerous. The Orai, sensing the growing tension, continued to share more of their knowledge, providing information on potential weaknesses in the Xandarian defenses and new methods of shielding and countering energy weapons. They were committed now, too deeply tied to humanity's fate to turn back. As the days passed, the galaxy watched and waited. The Xandarians tightened their plans, convinced that a swift, overwhelming strike would send the right message. Carter, meanwhile, prepared for the inevitable clash, his mind constantly working, refining strategies, considering contingencies. He was not interested in merely surviving the next encounter. He wanted to end it decisively, to prove once and for all that humanity's command was not to be ignored. He knew the game he was playing was a dangerous one, but he also knew that it was one worth playing. The alliance with the Orai was more than just a strategic move. It was a statement of who humanity was and what they stood for in a galaxy that too often turned a blind eye to injustice. The time for the next move was coming, and when it did, Carter would be ready. The assault began without warning, the Xandarians and their new allies appearing like a dark storm on the horizon. Their fleet was immense, a sprawling mass of warships that stretched as far as the sensors could detect. The Orai stronghold, nestled within the protective asteroid belt of their home system, was immediately enveloped by the hostile armada. The Xandarians had brought everything they had: destroyers, battleships, and dreadnoughts, all bristling with weaponry, their hulls gleaming with menace. They were determined to overwhelm the Orai once and for all, and humanity's involvement was a mere obstacle to be crushed. The first wave hit hard. Xandarian cannons fired relentlessly, bombarding the Orai's outer defenses, which shuddered under the intense pressure. Shields flared brightly, holding for a moment before collapsing under the sheer onslaught. Explosions rippled through the defensive perimeter, and debris scattered across the battlefield. The Allied forces moved in with brutal efficiency, following the Xandarians' lead, their ships cutting through the void like knives. For a moment, it seemed as though the stronghold would be overrun, its defenses crumbling under the weight of the assault. But Carter was ready. He had anticipated the ferocity of the attack and had his fleet positioned strategically, hidden among the asteroids and debris fields that surrounded the Orai homeworld. As the enemy pushed forward, Carter's forces sprang into action. The Earth defense fleet emerged from their hiding places, striking swiftly and with precision. Human ships darted in and out, using the terrain to their advantage, launching hit-and-run attacks that disrupted the enemy's advance. The Xandarians, expecting a straightforward battle, were immediately thrown off balance. Carter orchestrated a series of daring maneuvers. His fleet split into smaller groups, each targeting different sections of the enemy line, forcing them to fight on multiple fronts at once. The humans moved unpredictably, creating confusion among the Allied forces. They deployed decoy drones and stealth fighters, weaving through the chaos to sow further disarray. The Xandarian commanders found their communications jammed, their coordination faltering. Carter's forces pressed their advantage, exploiting every weakness, every moment of hesitation. The battle was fierce, the void filled with the flashes of energy weapons and the detonation of warheads. Human ships danced between enemy formations, slipping through gaps and delivering precise blows that crippled larger vessels. They used the Orai's knowledge of the asteroid belt to their advantage, luring enemy ships into narrow passages and then collapsing those passages with carefully timed explosives. The Xandarians, unused to this level of guerrilla warfare, found themselves floundering. But the enemy was vast, and their numbers overwhelming. Despite humanity's best efforts, the sheer size of the attacking force began to take its toll. Slowly, the Allied fleet pushed forward, their superior firepower carving a path through the defensive lines. The Orai stronghold shook under the bombardment, and the defenders knew they could not hold out forever. Then, at the height of the battle, the Orai made their move. Throughout their history, they had kept a secret buried deep, a piece of technology so powerful that they feared it falling into the wrong hands. But now, seeing the struggle, witnessing humanity's unwavering commitment to their cause, they decided it was time to reveal their hidden weapon. It was a device of ancient design, a relic of an era long past, capable of generating a field that could disable enemy systems without causing destruction. It was a technology that could neutralize any electronic system, rendering even the most advanced warships inert in an instant. With a deep breath, the Orai activated the device. A pulse spread out from their stronghold, a wave of energy that rippled across the battlefield. Enemy ships, caught in the field, suddenly went dark. Engines sputtered, weapons fell silent, and the once imposing dreadnoughts floated helplessly. The Xandarian and allied forces, unprepared for such a countermeasure, found themselves adrift, their technological might rendered useless. Confusion and panic spread quickly among the enemy ranks. Seeing the opportunity, Carter acted without hesitation. He ordered his fleet to close in, targeting the vulnerable ships with surgical precision. The humans moved quickly, capturing key vessels, disabling others, and forcing many to surrender. Carter's tactics had created chaos, but the Orai's technology had delivered the knockout blow. The Allied forces, caught in the dual grip of human strategy and Orai ingenuity, began to crumble. Within minutes, the tide of battle turned. What had seemed like an inevitable defeat became a rout. The Xandarians, once so confident in their overwhelming numbers, now faced a stark reality. Their ships, their weapons, their alliances, all of it was unraveling before their eyes. Some of their commanders tried to rally, to reorganize their forces, but it was too late. The human fleet pressed their advantage, driving them back, reclaiming the territory that had been lost. Realizing their miscalculation, the Xandarians began to retreat, their confidence shattered. One by one, their ships withdrew from the battlefield, fleeing into the safety of deep space. The Allied forces that had joined them also began to scatter, unwilling to risk further losses against an enemy they now saw as far more formidable than they had imagined. As the last of the enemy forces vanished into the void, the Orai and humans stood victorious. The galaxy had witnessed something remarkable. A species that had once been seen as newcomers had proven themselves not just as defenders but as strategists and allies of great value. Carter knew that this victory would resonate far beyond this one battle. It was a message that humanity would not be underestimated, that their commitment to their allies was unwavering. And for the first time, the Orai felt hope, not just for survival but for a future where they could stand alongside humanity as equals, ready to face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. The battlefield lay quiet now, a stark contrast to the chaos and violence that had erupted only hours before. Wreckage drifted aimlessly, the remnants of ships that had once seemed invincible now reduced to scrap metal and debris. Among them, the battered but intact vessels of the Earth Defense Fleet moved slowly, methodically, as if in silent tribute to what had been achieved. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread like wildfire. The Xandarian Empire, long feared and revered for its military prowess, had been decisively beaten. Their grand coalition shattered. The consequences were immediate and far-reaching. The Xandarians, humiliated by their defeat, withdrew to their core systems, their leaders stunned by the scale of their miscalculation. They had underestimated humanity's resolve, their ingenuity, and their ability to adapt and fight back. Now they were left to rebuild, licking their wounds, their influence diminished. Their allies, too, found themselves in a state of shock, questioning the wisdom of their choices. No longer could they dismiss humanity as a mere upstart species. They had to reckon with them as a genuine power in the galaxy. Other factions watched closely, their previous indifference or disdain for humanity replaced by a new sense of caution and respect. They saw the Orai standing shoulder to shoulder with their human allies, their survival and freedom secured through a combination of human courage and Orai technology. The galaxy began to understand that the alliance between humanity and the Orai was more than a temporary convenience. It was a bond forged in battle, one that had proven its strength against overwhelming odds. Humanity's reputation transformed almost overnight. Where they had once been seen as newcomers, they were now regarded as a force to be respected. The victory over the Xandarians sent a clear signal. Humanity was willing to fight not just for themselves but for those they had sworn to protect. The Orai, moved by the unwavering commitment shown by their human allies, made their pledge of eternal friendship. No longer would they hide in the shadows. They would share their knowledge openly, revealing technologies and secrets that had been kept hidden for generations. This alliance promised breakthroughs in science, technology, and exploration that could reshape the galaxy's future. The consequences of humanity's actions rippled through every corner of known space. Some species, recognizing the strength and honor of the humans, sought alliances, eager to be on the right side of this new galactic order. Others, wary of humanity's newfound power, chose to maintain a cautious distance, unwilling to provoke a conflict but uncertain of what the future might hold. Whispers spread through the galactic community about what humanity might do next, and whether this bold stance was just the beginning of their rise. Captain Elias Carter, standing aboard his flagship, reflected on what had transpired. He knew the battle was won, but the war for a just and stable galaxy was far from over. Humanity had proven its strength, but with that strength came new challenges, new enemies, and new responsibilities. The Xandarians would not be the last to test their resolve, and the alliances formed today would need to be nurtured and strengthened if they were to survive the trials ahead. Carter understood that this victory had changed everything. It had set humanity on a new path, one that would require vigilance, wisdom, and an unwavering commitment to their values. The galaxy would be watching, some with hope, others with fear, all waiting to see what humanity's next move would be. He felt a sense of pride in what they had accomplished, but he also felt the weight of what lay ahead. He knew that the decisions made in the coming days would shape the future, not just for humanity but for the Orai and every other species that sought a better, more just galaxy. As the Earth Defense Fleet prepared to return home, Carter allowed himself a moment to look out into the vastness of space. There were still countless stars to explore, mysteries to uncover, and threats to face. The galaxy was a dangerous place, filled with those who would seek to exploit the weak and challenge the strong. But now, humanity stood firm, their allies beside them, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey was only just beginning.